What is up, my kings and queens? Welcome back to another video. I'm so excited to go through this video with you. Today I'm taking you through how I develop laser-like focus by removing my distractions. Now, the first important thing that I learned when it came to fixing focus, right? It doesn't matter what you want to fix your focus for, whether you want to do deep work, whether you want to study, whether you just need to lock in, right? If you want to focus, there's a place we have to start. And the first thing that I learned is that in order to fix your mental focus, you have to be able to fix your visual focus. Now, how do you do this? So before I do any deep work or any work that requires my attention and requires my cognitive function 100%, I do a focus exercise. Now, what do I do for this focus exercise, or what is the focus exercise, right? So what I will do for this focus exercise is I will stay at a spot on the wall, on my TV, on my desk. Pick a spot, a simple spot. Like, you see the certificate behind me? That circle there could be a spot. I mean, obviously that's a logo, but pick a spot on the wall. Pick something you're staring at. You're allowed to blink, right? But what you're going to do is, once you've found your spot and you've chosen that spot, you're now going to look at it and stare at it for 2, 3, 4 minutes. 2 to 4 minutes, that's what I'd recommend. I would do it for about 3 minutes, right? And what's going to happen is, yes, you are allowed to blink. So what's going to happen is, in that time, you're going to get distracted. You might look away, you might look slightly away from it or whatever, but you're fixing your focus. The point is to sit there and stare at a blank wall doing nothing, right? You're literally staring like as if paint is drying. Watching paint dry, right? The reason you're doing this is to fix your mind, because you're so stuck from all of the dopamine, the scrolling, YouTube series, whatever it is. I'm not saying you are, but there's people that are generally doing this. They get stuck from that, and they're so used to the dopamine because they've been scrolling, because they've been watching TV, because they've been watching Netflix, whatever it is. And then they have an inability to sit down and focus, right? Because when you watch TV, when you play video games, when you do whatever, smoke, drink, whatever, it's stimulating. It's stimulation for your brain, right? Think about this for me. Imagine playing Fortnite, Rocket League, FIFA, Apex, whatever you game, COD, whatever, right? And going from playing that game to staring at a blank piece of paper and trying to work now. Do you see how little stimulation there is from the game, everything moving, right? Whether you're turning and shooting someone, whether you're playing Rocket League, FIFA, whatever it is, the stimulation you're looking at when you're playing, when you're looking at the TV, right? When you go from that to a blank piece of paper, you're going to find it extremely difficult to focus, because that blank piece of paper is going to bore the hell out of you, right? So this is exactly how I fix my focus. Choose a spot on the wall, stare at it for 2-3 minutes before your starting session, before your deep work, whatever it is. Do that that focus exercise before your sessions, right? Now, I used to do this focus exercise before studying, before specifically studying theory. Now, the reason I did this is because I realized that if I do this focus exercise before studying, I could retain the information way better than if I didn't do the exercise, right? So let me give you an example. When I was still in school and I had to study for business studies, right? Business studies is theory, and you kind of almost need to know it word for word, right? Mostly. So I used to do the focus exercise before studying, right? And what happened was, when I did it, I could memorize an A4 page of notes within 20 minutes, right? Then I'd stop, because my study sessions aren't long. I do 20 to 30 minutes, then a 5-10 minute break, back at it again. Short sessions, short break, then until you eventually have a long break, like 20-30 minutes or 45 minutes. But I go hit the gym in that time, So I realized that I could memorize a whole page in 20 minutes after doing that exercise, go away for 10 minutes, and then it'd only take me 10 more minutes just to make sure I know everything, right? So basically, when I make sure I know everything, I'd look at the page of everything I've studied, everything listed up there, I'd block it, and I try and start recalling everything I studied before looking at the page. Whatever I know that I forgot, like I know under this heading I forgot the third point, I'll go look at it. So that's how I study, right? But my point is, when I did this exercise, I was remembering a lot more, and I was moving at a faster rate. So when I didn't do it, a page took me about 30 to 40 minutes to remember everything, plus then the break. Then when I came back to make sure I know everything, it took me another 20 minutes, right? So what I realized starting for my finals is that I don't don't have to study matric finals. I don't have to study more hours than everyone else. Not at all. I just have to make my hours that I do study more effective, right? So I got 74 for accounting, right? 81 for business. I probably got the same mark as someone who studied maybe 5 hours extra than me. I might have even done better than some people that studied more than me. But now, do you know why that is? One, it's a matter of prioritization. So I prioritized the things that the most marks and the things I struggled with. So wherever I was losing marks and things that had carried the most marks, I made sure I worked on them, right? But that's exactly my point here. I prioritized because I knew it'd be more effective. So when I studied, I wouldn't look at the clock and say, okay, let's say I said an hour for accounting, then 20-minute business, right? Accounting's practical. That's why I study more than 20 to 30 minutes. I'll sit for an hour. I don't mind. But business, like sitting and memorizing, are not too long. Short sessions, break, short sessions. That's how I like it. What I realized is, as long as I lock in, let's say I said I'm doing an hour for accounting. If you sit there while you're studying, you're like, fuck man, I don't want to do this. You look at the time, you see, okay, 40 minutes left. You keep studying. Fuck this man, I don't want to do this. You look at the time, 20 minutes left. But my point is, in that time, you get told you don't want to study, the time's moving slowly. What happens is, when you focus, one, that hour goes by way fucking quicker, first of all. Second of all, you're not distracted, your mind's not busy elsewhere, you are locked in, because you know, if I don't lock in for this hour, I'm gonna have to end up spending another hour on the same shit, when I could know 75% of the information now and spend the 15% later. Or, so for example, because my studying was more effective, I could learn 75% in an hour, and the normal person will learn 50. Then the next session, he learns 50, I learn 15, plus I've made sure I know everything and I've backed it all up, right? So I've done more in 2 hours than someone did in 2 hours, right? With the same amount of time. So that's why your focus is very important. You can get a lot more done without having to work as many hours as other people. It is literally a trick in life. It's a life hack. It's a life hack, literally. Focus. If you can focus on whatever you need to put your mind on and work more effectively and quicker than everyone else, how the fuck are you gonna lose? You know what I'm saying? So the next thing I have for you, okay, so now let's go to removing distractions. That was focus alone. Let's go to distractions and why they're bad for your focus. So I already started with saying that how stimulating, gaming can be, and going from that to looking at a blank piece of paper, or to reading something so that you can send your cold email, whatever it is, it's fucking boring to go from that stimulation to the game. To go from that game to the work, right? When I did that personally, studying specifically bored the life out of me. In fact, it mostly made everything else in my life feel like I don't want to do it, because it was less stimulating than scrolling, watching YouTube, watching Netflix, jacking off, playing video games, right? That's why I say that you need to get these out of your life, because now what happens is they take away from your focus, right? And because of that, it makes normal tasks feel harder. But if you stop doing all of those things completely, now I'm not saying I've done that, I haven't stopped completely, I'm still working on myself, but I knew what to do. But if you had to stop all of those things completely, normal tasks would motivate you even more, would make you feel even better, because you're not consuming all the shit. But look at people who don't scroll, who might watch TV a lot. But if you meet someone that doesn't scroll, they don't watch TV, they don't watch YouTube, they don't watch Netflix, they read, they chill, they can sit alone for an hour, then they'll go work, they'll genuinely feel much happier in life because their dopamine isn't all fucked up, right? So that's the whole thing with focus. If you can't fix your dopamine, your focus is gonna feel like it's not gonna be where it needs to be, because you're not gonna be getting as much dopamine from hard tasks than you would from instant gratification, right? So instant gratification, all these same things, scrolling, YouTube, Netflix, porn, games. Delayed gratification. Now, delayed gratification is like studying, for example. I studied for 2 hours, which was hard, without seeing the results straight away. I had to wait to go write my paper. I had to wait to get my marks in order for me to see the results. So yesterday I got my results. All the hard work I did over November, December paid off yesterday. So I only saw the results of all of that yesterday. So when I had to study, when I had to sit down and study for 2 hours, that was delayed gratification. So what you need to do, we need to remove our distractions, and that is how we're going to develop laser-like focus. Now, what did I do? I locked my social media apps, right? So when I first started doing this, what I realized is I tend to open Instagram subconsciously. Now, of course, I can say I'm a victim to my circumstances. It's in my generation, I grew up with social media. I mean, I didn't have IG till I was 12, but like nowadays, that's a normal thing for kids, bro. Sorry, not 12. I was 12 when I first created an Instagram account. I got in trouble with my parents. I had to delete it. I started it again at 14. And in fact, I still had to hide it at 14. I think only around 15, 16, I stopped hiding it, right? So I grew up in a way different time, but at the same time, I was on social media. So I still have to learn how to live and control myself with social media. So what did I do when I needed to study, when I know I needed to have discipline and I needed to lock in? I would lock my social media apps. And this is how I figured out that I open Instagram subconsciously. So the reason I lock it is because I know there's shit that needs to get done. I know there's better things I can do with my time. I shouldn't be fucking scrolling right now. That's why I lock it, to keep myself away from it, right? So the one day I can't remember, I was working on something and I needed to check my phone for something because obviously it was related to what I was working on. And I ended up sending a message to someone. But when I went out of WhatsApp, the first thing my brain thought to do was open Instagram. And thank God it was locked because it stopped me. But that's when I realized, why the fuck did I open Instagram when I know I'm working, when I know there's shit I need to do? And that's when I realized it's a subconscious habit. The same way it's a habit for you to check if you have your vape in your pocket. The same way it's a habit for you to make sure you have cigarettes. The same way it's a habit for you to smoke, right? It's more of a habit for your hands, because when people quit smoking, they need things for their hands to keep their hands busy, right? It became a subconscious habit for me, right? And the one day when I was working and I ended up opening Instagram subconsciously, that's when I realized what's happening. That's when I realized how detrimental the stuff is, right? Because if my own brain couldn't even stop me, I had to have an app to stop me. So this is what has to be done, guys. Yeah, it doesn't sound pretty, it doesn't sound easy, but this is the shit I did. The next thing is, if you struggle to put your phone down and work for an hour straight without touching it, without putting your phone in another room when you have, right? When you have to do deep work, you have a problem. You have a problem with your phone. Now, that's alright. How all problems can be solved, right? What do I do to fix that? When I was studying, first of all, my phone was on D&D. The second thing is, if there was noise in the background and I needed silence, I listened to brown noise. Now, when I knew that I'm picking up my phone and things, and it's distracting me, and the hour is taking longer to study because I'm watching the time because my phone's there. Like, I have a watch also and I watch the time, but I'd be watching it less. But because I had my phone there, it's distracting and you want to pick it up and things. I started charging my phone in the other room. Is that what's going to help me in the long term? No, I need to learn to control it for myself in the long term. Is it what I needed at the time being for me to perform to the best of my performance? Yes, that's what I needed. Because if I couldn't do it, I had to find a way to make it happen. So what I would do is put my phone to charge in the lounge of the kitchen, leave it there, come to chair and study while I'm listening to brown noise connected to my phone, sitting that side, right? That's what I did when I was struggling to touch my phone. Then the next thing is, I actually just said it, but if you need silence to work, now this specifically is maybe, let's say, studying or deep work. I needed silence to study, especially theory stuff, right? Like business studies. So when I didn't have silence, what I would do is I would put my earphones in and I would listen to brown noise, right? And if I'm truly being honest with myself, brown noise played one of the biggest factors in my life, bro, over that my matric year. I probably I probably got my distinction in business, and I have to give it up to brown noise. Because if I did not have the ability to listen to brown noise when there was noise in my house and I needed to study, I don't know what I would have done. Because I'm that type of person. I can't fucking sit and study theory, specifically business, or read something and lock in and focus when there's so much happening around me. There's noise, there's talking, I can hear voices, whatever, bro, car hooters, what's that thing called, whatever, bro. If there's noise, I cannot focus. So I would say personally, brown noise got me through matric. And if I'm being honest, I wouldn't have been able to study my theory stuff without it. Now, before I leave, and I tell you the last thing that's the most important is, please make sure you like this video and subscribe. Because if you think this is very helpful, you're gonna be back for more, right? And if you know you're gonna be back, I'd rather have you subscribe, right? Then you can get notified about my videos then you can actually see the titles of my videos when it gets out. And bro, who knows? Maybe one day, because you subscribe, I create a video on exactly what you need, and you wouldn't know, but because you subscribed and it came up in your notifications, you're like, shit, I've been thinking this lately, let me go watch this shit. You know what he has to say. So also, if you guys think anyone would benefit from this information, someone that you think needs to hear it, please share them, send them this video. If you think there's anything I left out, put it in the comments. If you disagree with anything I've said, put it in the comments. If you think I need to add more details about something, put it in the comments. I do go live on TikTok where I help you guys firsthand and answer advice on the live. So if you guys need advice and things like that, feel free to check me out on TikTok. My link is in the bar, in the description. The second link. I think the first one is Instagram. Feel free to check out my Instagram as well. Guys, please make sure you smash that like button. Make sure to subscribe. And the last thing that I want to tell you for your focus, right? There was a quote I heard, which is, all of man's problems begin when man can't sit alone in a room for an hour. So if you cannot sit for 20 minutes and do nothing, don't vape, don't touch your coffee, don't touch your phone, don't touch your water, just sit with your thoughts. That's where the problems begin. Most of the creative ideas that happen in the world came from men who had to sit in silence, right? Someone said, I don't know who said it, but I was listening to a podcast, and someone said that the reason there's less creative or brand new creative ideas these days is because everyone's fucking distracted. Everyone's looking at their phone, everyone's watching something, everyone's looking at the TV, everyone's doing something, right? Productive or not, mostly unproductive. So there's no time for people to actually come up with original creative ideas, right? So sitting in silence for 20 minutes a day will be one of the most beneficial things you ever do for yourself. As always, guys, I'm rooting for you and I'm watching from afar. Do the hard work, especially when you don't feel like it.